Hey! Welcome to Tuesday's Rig Along. I'm still visiting my parents. Yeah, today's pretty cool. Today's gonna be great. Maybel's very excited for her treat casino. I think I mentioned this last week. She's so into this treat, this toy. Gosh, who makes this? Outward Hound. Outward Hound. Anyway, they have like a couple levels of different difficulties for dogs to get into. Can you see her? I don't want to. I'm like living out of a suitcase back here, but can you see her? She's like so pumped. She's so pumped. She's even started to sit. Okay. She's even started to sit in front of the treat jar and ask for it, which is really funny. So without further ado, I guess I should give it to her, but I'll explain it a little bit. It has these little levers, and the little levers act as locks, so like you can't get into the treat. So she actually has to turn these cute little dog bones to get the little treats inside, which she eats immediately. So it's pretty cute, and she's pretty aggressive with it. I don't think that she actually understands that there's locks. I think that she just kind of destroys it to the point of hi. Just going over my dog's treats, which I give her for every stream to keep her busy. But yeah, this is we've only had this for a week, maybe a week and a half, and she loves it. So here you go, Maybel. Come up. No, get up. What is this? No, come up, stand up. What is this? No. Okay, now she's confused. Here, where are you gonna take that? Okay. So, she is so cute, and I don't know if I want her to be chewing this. She's already got one open. She's even started to just, she's so strong. She can just pull, like she just bite. She's figured out that she can just bite the handle and just pull. I don't even think she uses the locks anymore. I think she just pulls them out, but she's so freaking cute. Let me see. Can you see her? Let me just do it quick. Just so dainty. She's being so quiet. Cancel. Don't need to exit. But she's gonna be noisy. Maybel, you're not gonna stay in here. Come on. Hang on. Let me. Come on. We're gonna take this out here. Good girl. That's too much of a distraction for me. For her to be doing that right behind me. Anyway, welcome to the chat. Oh, Elliot, nice to see you. Welcome. Feel free to ask any questions that you'd like about the transformation summer camp. The goal in that workshop is to really help people like work on their demo reel, put the time in, but not just put the time in. To actually like get the feedback on like what you should focus on for your demo reel. A lot of times I look at demo reels and I see either a whole bunch of stuff that can be edited down, or I see 3 things that need to be expanded on. So the goal for the workshop is to really give you the time to focus on the one subject, but also learn how that subject, that department fits within the whole pipeline. The pipeline process is something that's a real mystery to people outside of the industry. So we're trying to create an environment that's really going to help you navigate that and kind of understand how everything works together. So you'll hear from all the department heads, all the department leads, and they're incredible. I have not announced who they are yet. I'm saving that information. After the early bird special, that's when I will announce who the instructors are. And these are people that are very talented. Most of them are working in Vancouver right now, just because that's where my roots are within the industry. And what else? And yeah, I think I was talking to you about it a little bit earlier, Elliot, but the learning library is going to be a really cool aspect. And this is something that, from what I understand, I have not seen it anywhere on the internet, but what we're going to be doing is looking at these demo reels from all the departments, and we're going to try to pick out specific assets that might work together, that are completely separate. That might be completely separate demo reels, but we're going to look for assets that kind of work together. And you have to remember, we do this for episodes like on a weekly basis, so it's going to look a lot like a breakdown meeting, in a way. It's like separate breakdown meetings. But we're going to basically look at all the demo reels as a whole, give you the feedback. But when we give you your goals, those goals are going to be, you're going to be creating your own assets. And if you're interested, you can contribute to the learning library. Now, the learning library is going to be a place where all the assets are vetted by industry professionals. We're going to try to keep them. I don't know, we're not going to keep them anything. They're going to be vetted by industry professionals, and then available for people that take the workshop to use to create new scenes, but using other people's assets. So when you are done using the asset and you upload your scene, that asset can then be tagged to the original creator. And if they want to put that in their demo reel, that's really good. One of the things that you can do, which I always suggest to people, is like you can work with your friends' assets. You can animate their rigs, but it's a bit of a sharing economy. You kind of have to lean on each other to do it. So that's our goal. We're going to try to create a little bit of a learning library of shared assets that will be vetted by industry professionals, and hopefully, as the program grows, you'll have more and more people that have access to these assets, and yeah, that little system can grow. That's something that you want to have the experience in sharing assets. You want to have the experience in using other people's assets. You can put that on your resume. Fun fact. You can definitely put that on your resume that you are that you can go in and use rigs that you're not familiar with. That's practice. That's the vision. That's using other people's style and then committing to it. And that's the goal of a demo reel. So we're going to try and help everybody that joins pick apart those little key aspects and keep going. So you can practice on other people's, but yeah, yes, exactly. So you'll be able to go into like whatever, again, we don't know what's in the library yet because we haven't started it. This is going to be the first one. But that's the point. So we're going to go in, and you're not just going to be able to use their rigs. You might be able to, if you want to practice rigging, you might see a design that you like, and then you might want to rig that design. And now the designer has an example of their rig rigged. So that can also go on their demo reel. And that's a really big asset to anybody who's creating these things. So that's kind of the goal. It's like a little sharing. You could throw, let's say you do an animation cycle and somebody's got some dust effects. Now you can throw some dust effects into your walk cycle, and your walk cycle does not look like a typical walk cycle anymore. You can do, we're going to do backgrounds, character designs, prop designs. So if you want to be a rigging artist, you can. I'm a rigging artist, so I'm biased. I always choose rigging. But like effects, backgrounds, put backgrounds on things. Let's say somebody creates a warp pan. Then you have access to a warp pan, a 365 scene. Now you've got a character that you can do a 360 rig with the proper background, and all you're doing is taking care of timing. So these are the kind of things that we are that we're going to be looking for to contribute to the library. And again, we do this often, so we kind of know what that would be. We could reuse that. Like it's basically an animation reuse library, but I'm calling it a learning library. But yeah, and that would give you a leg up within the industry, because now you'll have experience using an animation library as well. So that's the goal. Practical tools, practical advice, practical tips to get you hired. So yeah, you'd be able to use other people's rigs, to design other people's rigs, to, if you wanted to practice, like if you wanted to just, you'll be able to go to, I know that you weren't interested in effects and compositing, but if you wanted to practice effects and compositing, you'd be able to watch other people's effects and composite reels, listen to the effects compositor supervisor, and then you would know how to kind of gear your practice towards that industry, towards that department. So little things like that. So pretty excited about it. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to keep asking. I'm going to start rigging. That's what this is for. So it's so nice to have you, Elliot, here. We've got a couple people that come on a regular basis. They haven't quite tuned in yet, so we'll see. Hopefully they come. If not, it might just be us. Let's see, where's my... All right, so where's my camera? There it is. All right, so today on Rig Along, it's week number 2 on. I'm so bad at names. Luis Gadea's build, and my brain always wants to say his name wrong, and I know it's Luis. But yes, we are working on girl number 7 of Luis's walk cycles. He's got a whole series of women that he's going to be doing walk cycles for, and so when I saw the last one, I was like, I would love to build you a rig. And we used to work together, so I'm continuing working on his rig, and this one is pretty cool. It's a very different type of rig that I build. It's more of like a last minute rig. It's the one you pull out of your pocket when you don't have enough time to rig something from scratch. And this character has so many textures and details that it's kind of incredible. So let me see. Can I zoom in? You can see all the details that are on this rig. And so we're going to try to preserve all this information and bring it right into Harmony, which I did last week. And we will be recreating. So Elliot, I know that you were also talking about getting into rigging or continuing rigging. If you have any rigging questions, feel free to ask. Last week I was building, I was kind of organizing the head and getting into the network. So we're just going to continue that today. But feel free to ask any rigging specific questions that you have. And we will keep going. All right. Let's see, where am I going to start? I didn't leave myself a note, so I'm starting from scratch. All right, we got the eyelid, we got the pupil, nose line, mouth and teeth, and we've got the jaw, and the head, and the bangs, and more bangs, and the bangs shadow. Okay, let's see, let's bring this forward, Control P, to create a peg. And the peg is what moves my images around, so we're going to bring that forward just by hitting Alt. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. Alt forward. And you can see here that I'm bringing it forward by 0, 1, or 0, 0, 1. Forward is an F. I'm just going to call this Z space, Z, so I know it's forward, and the Z space. I can even say Z up, so you can do that. Alright, as long as I can select that. Alright, save. And now I also have all my reference in from the Photoshop file that we imported last week. It is connected to a peg. It doesn't necessarily have to be. but we want to make sure that we have access to all that information because we're going to be pulling a lot of the stuff from that group into our rig, but we're also going to be rigging the character. I should mention too that I think I mentioned this last week, but when I'm working with the design team, a lot of times I can send the rig back, and Luis and I didn't have time to go over the file like this, and I didn't want to impose that kind of work on him. But you can actually go through and have all your layers separated in the design, which is what I would usually ask for, because it's much faster for a designer to go into the Photoshop file and put like the arm with all of the design elements in its own file. But that's extra work for the designer, so it's not typical. So this is kind of like one of those rigging processes that is a bit of a give and take between the two departments. So you have to kind of be on good terms to get this extra to get the extra help. But I don't have that today, like for this rig. So we are going to be building a lot of the pieces from scratch, but you can still take a lot of shortcuts if the designer goes in and creates the different elements on their own layers, which is, again, not a lot of work for a designer, but for a rigging art, like I'm not a Photoshop. I use Photoshop, but very minimally. So I know how to get by and survive, but I'm not thriving in Photoshop like a designer does. So that is one of the big challenges here, one of the big differences. So let's see, we've got the bangs, we've got the earrings. I feel like that's where I kind of ended. Where's the ear? The ear is behind. I'm going to change the color of this just because I need to see it. So I know that it's there. All right, what am I going to work on today? I think I'm just going to be roughing with the shapes. I think I should add the hair, the back of the hair. I'll have to add the lines. We'll keep it up. So. Hairline. Oh my gosh. I think I'll keep practicing on rigging. This is something I love to learn. And just, yeah, and the nice thing about what I have on all of my on my Gumroad. If you want to go to my Gumroad, you can actually go back and you can see. So this is the third rig that I've done through my rig along series. This is my third rig that I'm working on. So right now there's two rigs. There's a Cadence, the carrot, and then there's also a skeleton in a cardigan, which I called Skelly. And so the Cadence, the carrot, the character, they are on Gumroad, available to download. You can download the rig, but what's included is also the rigging files that I use to rig the character. And so you can go into my YouTube channel and you can watch all the videos and you can kind of rig along with me. But I will warn you, because this is live, I make a lot of mistakes because I believe in showing you how to make the mistakes, but also how to fix the mistakes. I'm only rigging 2 hours at a time, so I'm not going to say I'm the most efficient anymore. I used to be a machine, and I don't seem to feel like I'm a machine anymore. But now I do it for fun. And yeah, so if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll be able to find all that information, and you can go and watch previous episodes. But it's pretty fun. Cadence will take you about a week to rig fully. from head to toe. It's a full character. It's a full teared around, hands and feet, mouth charts, everything. There's a couple little fixes that I would make to that rig for sure now, thinking back, but until I go back and make those changes, it is almost perfect. But yeah, that's a great character to work on and learn from. And then what's your next question is, do you import layers from Photoshop? Isn't it heavy? So yes, I do import layers from Photoshop. It's not going to be heavy quite yet, but it could be heavy. It depends. This character itself is not doing too much. This character only has to walk. So it only has to do like this kind of a motion. And the Photoshop files are like, we're not in a state where the scene is going to lag yet, but we could get there very easily. And especially if you're doing a full turnaround of all Photoshop files, it would start to get a bit heavy. But right now it's about the same weight as a background. So, you know, background's not that heavy. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Let's see. I don't think my I can see my mouse, but I can't see my mouse. There we go. Turn my snapping off. Show through the neck, so I don't want that. So right now what I'm building is like a sideburn that's going to cut into the head. So I think we're going to need to have that separation. But what it's going to leave us with is 2 pieces of artwork where this hair is going to have to cut through. So we're going to keep that in mind. Some hair detail. I'll call this the cut in hair. Okay, and then let's see. We got this hairband. All right, so this hairband, a lot of what we're going to be doing is just kind of creating the shapes of the outline. Let's see. Okay, so let's do one thing that I've done. This is probably one of my favorite rigging techniques. Is I've changed my my shortcuts. I use a lot of shortcuts that are default. Because like that's one of a big debate. Whether you use the default shortcuts or you kind of create your own. I'm a big fan of making the software work for you. When I was a supervisor, that was one thing that I always told people was like, you have to do the work, so, or you have to do this work. So, like, do you want to, like, what works for you? I like to use the example of left-handers versus right-handers. Because I think that that's a very easy thing for people to wrap their head around for workflow. Obviously, I'm right-handed. And so sometimes what I do is like right now my node view is over here and my camera view is over here. But I could switch this very easily just by bringing in, where's my camera? And I'll put my node view back over here. So now my scene kind of works a little bit more for me as a right-hander versus a left-hander. And so when I'm sitting at somebody's desk, they might change their preferences, which is what I mean is totally fine. But sometimes you get a lot of supervisors that don't like that. But if you're doing the work, I think that it's totally fine to set it up so that you get your work done on time, and whatnot. But when I worked for Toon Boom, I stopped using all shortcuts except for a couple. And that was mainly because we were constantly restarting our system. So for us to set our shortcuts up all the time, it took a lot of time. Even though you can save and load them, it just didn't seem. It took a lot of energy. So there's actually a lot of supervisors that prefer to keep the default settings, because when they sit at anybody's computer, then they know how it works. So sometimes when you sit at somebody's computer, they have so many shortcuts that when you go to use it, like if you have to do something or whatever, you can't really get the program to work the way you want, because the shortcuts are like doing things that you don't recognize that it should be doing. So that's kind of a little bit of a um, an over explanation, I guess. But some of my favorite shortcuts, especially for rigging, are setting hotkeys for the rectangle, ellipse, and the line. I don't really use the polyline so much, but the rectangle, ellipse, and the line, and even stroke you can keep. They work really well as Z, X, C, and V on your computer. So Z I use for lines, X I use for boxes, so rectangles, and then ellipse I use C. And so I've just gone into the hotkeys and I've just I've erased the previous hotkeys and put those shortcuts in for those ones. And I would say that's my favorite shortcut hack for rigging. It helps you create. You'll hear in Cadence I talk a lot about creating closed shapes and closed forms. And so I actually use those shapes and then I will form them into their pieces, kind of like what I'm doing right now, right here. Creating and adding these little contour points when I need them. So something like that. What color is this going to be? Maybe we will leave this as rough. I guess I'll leave that for now. So for another example, let's go to the band top notch. Deactivate this. Is my C. Should just hit C, and I've got my circle. And then I can go and adjust my contour points and delete the ones that I don't need. And to me, that's the fastest way to create artwork. My computer is a bit laggy though, so it's not exactly the fastest. So that's your rigging tip. Some rigging tips. Alright, let's do some of this red band. So this would be a good one for a square. I want to make sure I am drawing on my line art layer. Gosh, it's so easy for me to forget. Let's see, that's going here. Okay, this in here. That. I guess you're gonna notice too that I don't typically create my palette off the bat. I kind of do it as I go along, and I'm thinking about why I do that right now. And I think that's because I enjoy. I think I like doing it at the same time. Kind of adds like a little bit of I don't want to say it's not monotonous to create your palette. That's for sure. Just like doing. I think I just like doing it while I create the pieces and kind of let the palette build itself instead of creating that whole chunk of build the palette, build the character, do this. I think that's what I like about this workflow. But I do want to change the color. Don't want to use this. I'll use this. Alright, so we got the notch, which is going to be this circle. Here. And right now, all I'm doing is I'm not actually separating the artwork on the layers. And the reason why I'm not doing that is because this artwork doesn't have a lot of outlines. So this is totally fine to start setting up like this. There's going to be a couple layers where I'm going to have to separate the artwork, like the eyes and the mouth. And the head, where we've got all these chin lines, that's definitely going to be something that remains the same. But the character itself doesn't have a lot of outline. So here, little shapes like this. So I'm not really worrying about putting my fill on my color art layer, which I typically would. In this case, it's not as necessary. I'm going to call this the end bottom. It's an end 2. Oh my gosh. We'll call this one. You can use poly. I just, you know what, polylines doesn't work with my head. That's really all that is. I find that it goes counterintuitive to what I'm used to. And the other reason why I like to use closed shapes is because, but you know, I will say though, my favorite tool would work really well with the polyline tool. And anybody's heard me talk about drawing would already know this, but if I find this tool right here, the rebuild tool, I like this tool instead of this tool. So here's the auto close gap. I hate the auto close gap. It's usually turned on by default for the software, but I usually turn that off and turn on my rebuild tool. And this little hammer will connect all your lines automatically. So even if you're building line by line, it'll create the solid shape. So it will work. What you're doing will work the same way that I'm working now. If you want to keep using the polyline, but what it does is when you go to grab it with your black selection arrow, something like this, it grabs the whole shape. So that tool, along with the polyline tool, is very powerful, especially with the auto curve selections. But when I go to like adjust the handles of the polyline tool, I can never get it to do what I want it to do. So I just break this way. I think this was my like survival mode way of working. Right, I just did that. I wasn't really paying attention, but I think that's good. Let's round this out. Another thing that I do to all my shapes, unless it's in the design, and this design does have a lot of angular things, is I'm constantly rounding out my shapes because you don't see a lot of sharp edges on people. So I never I never leave my sharp edges. I'll always round my corners, and then that way it helps for animation. So if you rotate something, it doesn't just like crack. That rounded edge usually helps the animation like look solid. So that's something that I always preach and keep in mind. Okay, so I should probably be figuring out which ones specifically I need to bring in from the Photoshop file versus what it is that I have to draw. Ooh, that's where I have to start using my brain. So Elliot, I know that you're calling in you're tuning in from France. Whereabouts in France are you, and were you able to go to Annecy that just happened? Or have you been to Annecy before? Let's figure out the shape here. Oh, Maybel. Somebody's home. I don't think that's for the hair. Whoa, what did I just do? Selecting something. What do I have as a ponytail here? This is the ponytail elastic? What did I call it? Red band. I don't think that you always have to get into naming your palette as specifically as that. I think that's actually a little bit frowned upon, but to keep in the style of keep going, we'll keep going. All right, we got a ponytail, we got a big band, we got this low band, and then we got this ponytail lines. All right, so the ponytail lines are going to be ahead of the ponytail, that's for sure. Put this back here. We got pony lines, we got ponytail lines. I don't even know the difference between that right now. Let's create a composite to kind of organize this. I guess this is the ponytail composite. Add it. Let's just name it. Have you been before? I mean, I couldn't go this year either, so I understand. You're living in, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce it. And I live in Montreal, but I'm visiting my parents. And so I'm actually in Windsor, Ontario right now. And we grew up, I live across from Detroit. And so my Canadian accent is very US accent. And I find that it's very difficult for me to pick up on other languages because my Detroit accent is so thick. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to say this, but angulame, angulame, no, angulame, angulum, angulame. Say it 10 times. Thank you for the pronunciation. Oh yeah, I forgot Annecy ran last year. That's a good point. I do remember that. Create some space here. Pull this a little bit further. This is the under chin. Let's make the space for the hair. So we get into the under chin and the neck. All right, so oh, I see. I've got ponytail. That's this thing right here. Here we go. This little curve right here. I'm assuming that it would do something. Can you hear my Google alarm telling me to wrap up and plan for dinner? Did I attend? I have not been to Annecy. That's the only one that I hadn't been to. I was attending a lot of festivals for Toon Boom when I worked for them, and that's one that I haven't been to yet, but I'd love to go. That's it's a little bit of a, I guess, a personal goal to get there, but to get there for like to represent my business, that would be really nice. I'm hoping one day. But I have not tried a raclette sandwich, but like I can imagine because I love cheese. That's what scares me so much. I used to travel for Toon Boom often, and I love food so much. I just love it. I love food. I love eating, and so that was probably the best part of traveling was eating all the food. And it's so funny because I'm a vegetarian, but when I travel, I'll eat whatever is culturally specific because like why not? I think that you're missing out if you're not eating some of the food. But some of the places that I would travel to that I was very nervous to eat the food, like China, I was afraid to eat. Like I'm not afraid to eat. I don't like eating a lot of rice, so I was afraid that I would have a hard struggle eating. Plus, these are very meat centric countries, so I do get a little bit nervous when I am eating meat. But I ended up loving the food, and some of the food was the best. That I wasn't expecting it to be so good. I cannot imagine eating. I've never been to France because I don't speak French. I cannot imagine eating cheese in France right now. Like I can't imagine what that tastes like. And the closest thing I've had is Italian cheese. That was really good. Yeah, you'll have to bring some back when you come to Canada. You'll have to bring all the cheese and the wheels if you can. If that's possible. Okay, what are we doing here? Let me think my way through. what it is that I'm doing right now. I've blocked out the hair. I've blocked out the head. Do I want to get into rigging? I think that what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of rigging for the head. Let's clean up this jawline here. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So you can kind of start to see the Photoshop file is still there. It's still accessible underneath. If I wanted to put that on a transparency node, I could, although it's kind of helping me pick my colors right now. But here is this piece right here. That is, I don't know, fill that piece. Here. Okay. So here I've got my ear and my jaw and my headline, and I need to bring this piece on top. So let's go in and let's make sure that that piece is on its proper layers. So again, Harmony, when you are creating and organizing the layers the way that I am right now, you read it left to right, kind of like a book, like a North American book. So what is plugged into the composites on the left will be above what's on the right. So I need to find the hair and the head. So I need to make sure my cut-in hair is above there. And I also want it to be above the jaw. So I'm going to put the jaw behind it as well. That's perfect. And then the ear will sit on top. And I'm already starting to like see the shapes, which is great. And so right now what I'm going to do is just double check to see. So last week I was putting my artwork on the separate layers. And so this is something that I try to get people comfortable with right away because it's the hardest part. Do they speak a lot of French in Montreal? Oh yeah, they sure do. They sure do. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only person that doesn't speak French, but I know that's not the case. All right, so last week what I was doing was I was separating my artwork, and what I try to get people to get very comfortable with right away is separating your artwork. So your lines stay on your line art layer, and your color, the fill, gets cut and put onto your color art layer. So you can see my line art layer right here. It has the outline of the shape that I'm creating, and then the color art layer is the fill. And so if I'm assuming those layers are done properly, those are the parts that need the engineering. So I try to get people pretty comfortable with putting their artwork on those layers right away. Control. Switching through the tools. There we go. And so now what I can do is I can bring in my groups, which I did. I have one right here, which we talked about. In here is where I keep all my art layers. And so this group right here doesn't really change. It's each one of these little nodes represent like little blue buttons. These are multi-port outs, and they represent a node on the inside, which is the overlay, the line art, the auto patch, the color art, and the underlay layer, which is basically just these right here. So your overlay, line art, color art, underlay. The only thing that I add is that auto patch. So this AP layer right here. So here you can see them all, and they're color coded because we don't really need to color code them anymore with the groups, but they're color coded. So they're right here, and so that anything that goes in through the one multi-port then gets separated here, and that's the rigging, that's the magic. So I've got this group here. I'm just going to copy it and bring it over to the jaw and the head, and we're going to create a little seamless cross network between the head and the jaw. So I just need to have my group and my group, and I know I want to plug it in. Kind of automatically always plugs into the. But you can get my auto patch. You can get, if you just kind of stick with it, you can kind of manipulate it. All right, so now I've just got my line art layers. Come on, one more. There you go. And so the other thing that we can do is create the groups, not the groups. We've already got the groups, but we can actually create a backdrop, which I did this in Cadence And I think I did this in the skeleton, so let's do that now. And then when we create these groups, which I know I just did 2, let's bring in a cutter. We can make sure that we're always doing this together. So maybe I'll delete this one. This one's the last one, and I will copy. There we go. So now I've got everything in one backdrop, and I'll plug this here. And bring that back. All right. Let's see. The other thing that we can add to this is a composite. Copy. Show view. Actually, let me redo this one, and I'll show you why. We set this up before we start making copies. It will save us time in the long run. So I'll plug in my line art. I'm going to plug in my color art. My auto patch is always in the middle because that's a utility. It's not the artwork. So I'm just going to leave that to the side. I've got my cutter right here. And now all I have to do is copy and paste. Now I've got my composite. It's actually going to save me a little bit of time in connecting all those other things. I could also connect my overlay and my color art, or my underlay, which I'm going to need for some of these layers. It's also a really nice way to space your artwork without crowding things. You can kind of start to see everything takes a specific amount of space, which is pretty good, but I'll have to move everything out and expand as they go. But now what I can do is I can basically cross network. So just going to crisscross. I'm going to cut the pieces that are interacting with each other, and this is like the same network that I use for limbs. As you can use them for the face and anything that's interacting, any type of shape that interacts. So right now we're going to use the auto patches, because if we use our cutters, our color layer colors, we're not going to quite get a smooth chop of the line. So I'm just going to really quickly grab the auto patches for each one, and that's going to automatically trim our artwork like so. And I'll have to take a look and see how that is. I can see there's an overlap there, and it's okay that there's transparency like that. But I do want to make sure that that is okay. And we can actually, I can even take a look and see what that is just by putting the line art. Oh my gosh, my line art. What I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to, I think I'm on my right piece, yeah, in my head. So I want to see the color art in front of the line. Let me unplug this for a quick second. I want my line art behind it. Okay. Okay, so I'm just wondering why there's a little bit of artwork here that's not being cut. Try to problem solve that real quick. Doesn't quite look right. Alright, so the jawline should be chopped by the head's auto patch, which is right here. Cut it by the color art for a quick second. Okay, so the color art is not perfect, and you know what it is? It's the texture. It's the texture of our pencil line. So it's measuring the auto patch in a little bit of a different way. It's not quite as short as it actually is, but that's okay. Well, and we'll have to create our overlay layers as well to kind of hide that, although it's kind of, our nose will hide that, so we'll leave it now. for now and see if that creates any problem. Oh yeah, have a good night. And thanks for popping in. Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you being here. Alright, so that works. That's good. Let's see. Do we want to add our? Do I want to add my overlay? I will be adding the neck to this cutter as well, but we don't need to. I'm not going to do that right now. Let's see. Let's fix this ear. Let's do this ear. Right now, I'm kind of working on a basis of like what's cut this. What's visible? Like, what am I looking at? So it might not look like it's organized, but believe me, in the world of animation, what you're looking at is a very important part of the puzzle. Let me pull this forward. Let me see. There's no actual line here. There's just a shadow. This little line here. And that extra flash piece. So I will delete this. And I think with all the rest of the hair, that piece should stand out a little bit. So I'll leave it. Let's see. That looks good. All right, let's see. What are we gonna do next? Do I want to do the nose? Nose. Well, I'm just gonna color that the color, but it should be the skin color. But the blush is going to be popping through, yeah, and that hides all that information. And a lot of these lines too, I'm going to change the blue line so that it's the same color as the skin, so we won't actually see that. And I probably didn't even need to cross when I think about it that way. I'm so used to doing it that way, but probably didn't even need to do that. But it will look really nice right here when we add this jaw line, and when that gets cut by the neck. So let's add copy. We've already got it. Actually, this should be a different color completely, but yeah, this this is going to be different. So this is going to be the skin line, and then we also have a dark skin line. Oh, hang on. Dark skin line. Skin line. Up top. Dark skin line. Alright, so we got the dark skin line right here. And we can actually use work up down here. And we'll view. So let's color these. Let's color the skin line. This darker color. There we go. Alright, so that'll change all those lines to be that color. And then I'm going to go in and change this skin line to be this blue. And it's also in the head. This color. And that way, at the end of the rig, what I'm going to do is I've changed that skin color to be the actual skin color, and then it won't have any of the issues. One thing that I will have to test out too is how the lines interact with the cutter, with the masking. So worst case scenario, I won't go too far. We're going to figure this out. I don't know if we're going to figure this out. We should probably figure it out today. Depending on how we're cutting the shape, if we're cutting it with these layer filters right here, because we have our layer filters separated, we're going to have to either treat them individually, or if you've got one piece, one solid shape, you can kind of treat it up here with the drawing. So I'll make sure I have that clear. I should probably have that clear today before we get too far into the rig and have to make a whole bunch of changes. But today I think I'm just focusing on what's going on with the head. I got an hour left, so let's say let's do that now. All right, let's get into bringing in some of the pieces that are in the Photoshop file into the rig. So let's focus on the hair headband, because I think that's going to be okay, these pieces, this one is this pieces. So let's go into here. And we're going to find all the layers. We've got some ear blush and nose blush on here. So this layer right here, we can separate and start labeling these. Okay, Buckle's face. We've got more blush. I'll have to see what the difference is between these two. Alright, so it looks like this is all of our hairline detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control A, And I'm going to copy, because I don't know what the whole shape is, and if I move it to the side, I can kind of get a better idea of what is on there. So it looks like it's just hair, just that there's multiple pieces. So I can copy, I can cut, and we're going to bring that in. On lines, I'll put everything on here. Right now, I'm going to give that a little box so that I know that those textures are there. Now let's find it in the top knot. Let's see if we can find. I can see a couple of new people have joined the chat, and feel free to say hi if you're interested. If you're here, you want to talk about the summer camp workshop, feel free to ask any questions. I'm available to answer. We're just talking rigging. All right, right now I'm just looking for pieces for the layers in the Photoshop file. I can't grab. There we go. All right, which one is it? Headband. All right, this is its own group. It's taking me forever to find that. All right, so we have all these pieces right here, and I'm just going to bring all of these in. So let's see if I can do. Try not to do that. Let's see if we can activate everything. Activate the headband and multi-ports. Okay, I'm just going to copy all of this. I'm hoping this is going to be every color, and you can kind of see that it's all, whoops, it's all kind of traveling together, so that's what I want. But I'm going to select all, and I'm copying. And right now what I've done is I've just isolated the pieces that I want to select all. I'm not taking them and deleting them. I'm leaving them so that I have that reference. Again, I have the image as reference underneath as well. But that's how you grab a whole bunch of pieces like that. And I hold shift and I click, and that was one of my favorite tricks. Okay, headband, we got a top knot. Okay, so I'm gonna put these all in my overlay of my headband. Let's do this and see what it looks like. Which one is... That might not work because I want to make sure that I'm not grabbing. I'm gonna delete that one color. What is that? I think that's this thing. Just delete this one. Deactivate this one. Let's try that one more time. What? Oh, I'm in the wrong layer. That's why. There it is. Okay, let's try this again. Copy. Activate. Headband. Now, depending on if it has to animate or not, we can put Oh, hey, Motunes. Maurice. I always forget. Hey, just Daniel. Thanks for lurking. Nice to see you guys here. We just had somebody from France. Daniel, I bet you were probably here, but Maurice, we just had somebody from France. Thanks for popping in. Are you on vacation, Maurice? Like, again? Like, you're not, like, is this just a time that you're not working anymore? Or do you get to come to these more often? Or is it still like a grace period we have you for a little bit? All right, so when a piece has to move, and we're gonna have to go through and looks like we're gonna have to go in and layer this to make it a little bit nicer. But when a piece has to move, we can't put it on the overlay, kind of like I'm doing right now. But if it doesn't have to move, I can. So I can to an extent. So it is pulling this in. How are we gonna do this? Let's go back to here. Shade, put this over here. Not shadow, let's put this over here. We've got some color you want to look at. Got this one, we got this one, we got this one. We're going to have to figure out which layers go where and how to organize these. So we're going to bring them in one by one. When you're a creative genius and you make the thing, you know where all the pieces go and how they're supposed to interact. So this is why it makes it very easy to send a design back to the designer and say, hey, can you just make sure that the headband is like in the shape that you want it to be and all the layers that you want it to be. But we can do it. We can do it. The good thing is that even though the pieces are drawn on the two bits, we can still do this. So what I'm probably going to end up doing to make this easy, because now it's going to be difficult to put them all on one layer in the headband. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy view, oops, not view, paste special, Control B, make sure I have all my things right here. And this was going to be my headband pattern. Oh, nice. So you'll be here more often. Excellent. That's pretty awesome. You'll be able to ask any questions that you want immediately. Let's put this stuff in here. So we'll start. Copy. Paste. So this one is going to go. I just want to color it there. Looks like the pink is above it. And on this layer, sometimes we just have empty layers depending. Looks like that one is nothing. I'll unplug it. See how I turn down strokes. Oh my gosh, what am I? Oh my gosh, what is going on here? Animate current frame. What's going on with my images? see. And this one is going to be under the pink. Let's put it with the yellow, maybe. I just know it's going to flatten some of the artwork, I think. No, it's not. Okay, good. And let's make sure that we're not missing anything. Okay, copy. Deactivate. This one is underneath it all, so it's going to go down here. I think I have one of the layers mixed up. Okay, and we've got purple left. Purple's the last one. Control copy. Let's deactivate this, and the purple goes underneath as well. Everything's kind of underneath. And, I'm going to create a slide tag so that we can do this side by side. Alright, and let's go back in here. Let's just, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the top knot and the, just do that real quick. And, my purple goes underneath the yellow. Where's my yellow layer? Oh, nothing's on the overlay. Okay. What do we got here? I don't know. You probably can't hear my parents, but I can hear them talking to Maybel. And I hope everything's okay. This is funny. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a copy. So I've got all of the designs from my Photoshop file right here in this for the top knot and the headband in this one drawing. So I'm gonna duplicate it, and then that way one is for the top knot and one is for the headband. So that's gonna be Control B, Control B. That's gonna be kind of a backup as well. So this one's the headband, this one's the top knot. That's going to help me isolate these two and put them in the proper order that we need to be in. So, all right, so this one here is the headband color. Let's see how I'm going to do this. I'll take one at a time. And switch over to my cutter tool. So Control T, Alt T. Don't feel like it's changing my shortcut. Alt T. Let's double check my own. Yeah, sure. Let's see. It's not working. Okay, delete the little pieces that we know we don't need. All right, so the pink layer, everything's good. All right, so here I can. Whoop, I don't want to do it that way. I hope I don't have to go back and do these one by one. Let's see. Let's get out of the cutter tool. Control X. Bring this on the overlay. And now I'm going to go back to my cutter tool. Alt C, move. I'm just going to literally dissect and cut that out of there. Okay, for now, let's go to this layer. Got a couple. This one, it's just one. And the reason why I'm putting them on different layers right now is just to isolate them. The overlay was free, so I'm just using that layer. And then deleting what I don't need, and then bringing it back. Control X. But this way it stays all in place. So, X, X. All right, so now it's a matter of putting these in order. All right, so we know deactivate. I kind of want to look at this right now without the transparency and deactivate. So I can see. All right, so make sure. Okay, so it looks like my layers are good right now. Actually, it looks like that. So looks like this green one needs to be lower. And then we get to cut. Oh, this white one needs to be, this white piece here needs to be, the white needs to be lower and the green needs to be lower. So let's see where those two are. The white and the green are on the same layer, so I can actually Control X this, paste it here. I think that's the top layer, the pink, and then put these two layers here. And then I can cut this and put this here. And that looks, we've got purple and yellow, then we've got the pink, then we got the yellow, like the green color, the orange. These stripes look good, these stripes look good. That all looks like it's in order. And then we'll need a cutter. Let's see see if this is going to work. This is what I was mentioning earlier, that I should make sure that it works and what it looks like. Let's make some space. The headband is so pretty. The fabric is really beautiful. It's a lot of layers, but it's very pretty. All right, let's see. All right. So whether or not we can treat the whole thing as one layer, because we did this one today, which means that right now all the information in the headband is pieces of flat color. I haven't separated the artwork, so there's no lines. But we need to see if that's gonna resonate with how this shows up. Sometimes lines can be a bit tricky, especially textured lines, which is what we kind of saw where the nose was connecting to the jaw. So let's see. We're gonna cut this just by the headband. We're not using any. We're not using any layer filters right now. This is all general cutting, nothing specific about what we just did. So the question now is, what color is the headband? Actually, the headband looks like it's green. So let's paint that. Let's see which one can I name this? Make it with the rough. Let's recolor this. All right. So there we go. There we go. Now it's starting, and it's got the cutter. The cutter is working. Let's make sure that there's no halos. There might be halos. Let's see. There is a little bit of a line right here. So this is kind of what I meant when I said we want to look to see how this is affecting. Halos are our worst enemy. So let's see if it looks better. Right now our line is approximately 10. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to delete the line. Although I don't like that gets rid of like all the effect of the fuzzy. Let's just see. Okay, so we still have a little bit of a halo and we've lost the effect of the fuzzy. So let's undo. And let's see if we can let's do an increase opacity. So let's see if we can fix this with an increase opacity. So increase opacity is just something that was developed, because what you can also do is something like this, where you want to double down on the image that's kind of been being cut, and this it makes your like pattern a little bit stronger, so it's kind of overtaking the anti-aliasing, which may or may not be what we want, but that creates other problems within animation. So we'll see if the increased opacity will work. And let's put it here. Did it work? Did it change anything? It did change something. See, right now I'm just plugging it in randomly just to see if it. There we go. All right, so that actually looks pretty good, and it did change. It did remove some of the anti-aliasing. It's still kind of there, but it's really not as bad as it was. And deactivate it. You can kind of see the difference. You can kind of see it pop. It's super, super slim. Yeah, so let's leave it that way. And it looks like we're gonna be okay. So let's see what that brings. Now this color, I also need to bring the headband, the shadow into this. So let's quickly go to our topmost layer and see if we want to bring in the shadow or if we want to put the shadow on a separate layer. Let's see. Oh my gosh, it's looking so nice. I love it when a plan comes together. It is. Everything about it is beautiful. Um, yeah, Luis is just so talented. Colors, shapes, styles, so talented. I saw today that he was working on backgrounds. And I'm just, in my head, I'm just thinking, yeah, man, you go, you rock another department. All right, so that looks really good. That looks fantastic, actually. I love it when a plan comes together. All right, so I guess we'll leave that there. I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to add. I don't think I want to separate the shadows, so we'll leave. We'll leave that as it is. And let's move on to the top knot. Let's finish off this one because we're in the mind space. We know how that's gonna look. So we've got our. We don't need this. I'm gonna put it up here. We've got our hairband color. We've got our hairband. We're going to need the top knot color, which all that information is still on here. I kind of wish the layer was which. That's something that I wish you could do in Toon Boom is I wish you could like refer to the layer. Like you could like open a drawing up, see all the layers, and then you can kind of copy the layers. That would be so nice. I have the memory of like a fly. Do that. All right, so we don't have the. I don't think that we have the. Oh, we have the knot shadow here. So let's keep that out in the open. Knot color. Let's get this in order. All right. So I think we have everything. Okay. So we'll slowly delete what we don't need. One by one. Get rid of any like little tiny artwork that we don't need. Just in case we see it. Okay, that one, we don't need any of this actually. So let's just delete that whole layer. Now we've got two layers freed. And let's see, it's on top purple. Purple's on top. I'm going to cut it. Oh, I don't want to cut it. I'm going to switch back to my select tool. You'll notice that the cutter tool grabs artwork very differently. So you don't really want to get, you don't really want to make that mistake. So let's see. What layers is this? Let's do this one first. Let's cut this one. I actually want to put that one layer on the bottom. So Alt T. I'm just going to delete what we don't need. All right. So this one's on the bottom. The purple. The pink needs to go lower, and the red needs to go lower. So what layers? These are on the top layers right now. I just have these backwards. Okay. This one. pink, or the white line has to be below this. And no, I don't want any of this. Try and delete what I can when I see it. Alright, so it goes, I think purple and blue are on top. There's the blue. Blue is still down here. Let's put this whole layer on the line art layer. Oops. Alright, is that it? No, the yellow needs to come up. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think that's it. I think that's it. I think that's it. You're going to notice that I'm copying and pasting and just like I'm trying not to flatten the artwork. I'm using the arrange your artwork so that you can kind of layer your artwork layers. If you flatten your artwork, it would turn it all into one piece. So I'm trying to avoid that. The cutter tool is going to grab pieces and it like segments things in a real weird way. And that's why I don't use it ever in a rig, to be honest, because it kind of leaves things behind, and you can kind of see it in here while I'm doing this. But in this kind of a rig, it's kind of unavoidable, and it's very helpful. So it's not. It's actually turning out to work out really well. Let me see. Let's bring in the top notch shadow, and I think this piece is going to be done. Let's see. This will be on the line art layer. Let's see if this needs to be buried. Hopefully it doesn't. Top knot color. I'll put it in the overlay. And now we cut it the same way. Copy, view. So I'll be cutting the top knot color, letting the increase go through it, and we're gonna cut it right by that. So there we go. So there we've got our first piece, and so now it'll be nice as we can when we animate this. It's not going to be perfect. Again, we're gonna have to figure out how to fill this in, and that's something that I would say, like, could you extend the drawing a little bit? But we'll see if we can mimic that and kind of hide it a little bit. That is working. All right, and we'll check our opacity. Should be fine. Yeah, okay. Alright, so now I can hide this. Activate all. Alright. Alright, so now we can go in and further start creating things. So let's, I'm going to change the color of her hair because it's not matching her actual hair. It's more like this black color. Not that black. Seeing you rig this, I can push my character. Well, I didn't design it, first of all. And again, you want to make sure that your Maurice you are more than like you don't have to throw everything into one rig. Don't forget, you can create separate rigs or like another rig that's similar but like has some of these details. But yeah, I'm pumped to see what you're building over there. Okay, let's see what's next. Let's copy this hair line. So I can stay the way that it is. Okay. Okay, let's bring in the lines. I know we've already got those separated on pony lines. So let's copy all. I'm gonna copy the whole thing, and I'll just paste this one into the. Let's see. I'll put them into the overlay. Well, I can do my own lines. Let's see. We've got the ponytail lines. Let's get rid of the. Hide this one. Let's hide the red one. This one here. Hide that. Alright, I can either make copies of this. I'm going to need a couple because there's lines here, there's lines here, there's lines here, and then there's lines in the hair. How do I want to do this? It's probably best that I just copy that actually. So copy, we'll go to the bangs. And I'll just copy the lines from bang. Copy, open them in here. These are just the lines up here, so I can use my cutter tool to cut away what I don't need. Just cut a little more so that the bounding box isn't crazy. So that is done. Bangs lines are done. Bangs are done. Then we're going to have this piece right here. So this hair piece needs to be cut in here lines, we'll call this. here. And then we need our look. Oh, it's too much. One of these is going to let me select less. Nope, not that one. Alt T, let's go back, let's try that one more time. Pink. It's hard to see. Let's put this in the ponytail. Ponytail, ponytail, where are you? Pony lines. Ponytail lines. It's kind of a braid, I guess you could say. Here. Okay. Ponytail lines. And then we got ponytail. This is the pony. Ponytail lines are going to go here. Actually, I got these two switched. I keep getting the ponytail and the actual braid. I should call it the braid. The ponytail is like, it's like the little piece of hair that's at the top, the bottom of the hair. This is more of a braid. I called it the pony. It's called the braid. I'll call this one braid. Okay, if you're rigging something and you're getting confused with the naming, chances are everybody else is going to get confused with the naming, so you might as well change. Alright, so we got the ponytail. I put the ponytail braid lines here, so I'm actually going to move. I'm going to cut this and put this on the braid lines, and then I'm going to take and then I put the here's my layer. You can see it, but I don't. It's not on here. Activate. This is telling me I have my artwork here, but I'm not seeing it right now. Where is it? Let me give this a tag so that I can see my. Okay, I can see my bounding box. So the artwork's here. Why isn't it showing up? Okay, So we've got braid lines, Control X. Cut this. Now I've just got the two. Okay. Ponytail lines. Got nothing. Now I can paste. I can hardly see this. If you can hardly see this, you can also deactivate some of the stuff that's around. I don't know if that helps. But now I can see very clearly. All right, now I've got my lines. They're not cut into the head yet, but they are separated. And they will need to be pegged together so that we have hierarchy. So we can move the braid and we can move the lines. So you can kind of have a little bit of shifting. Again, this character only has to walk. And like kind of rotate, which means that pieces are just going to be sliding side to side like this. So we want to make sure that we have enough of the information available so that you can kind of make that overlapping sway look. I'm going to add a cutter. So here, we cut that by this, and let's bring in, I don't think we're going to need cutting it. It's working. It's working. Okay, well, that's good. This thing here, but I think it's going to be so small that we're not going to notice it. So that's fine. We can let that one slide. Let it slide on the lines. We can't let it slide on the bigger patterns. So now we've got that and that. And now we can kind of just continue to bring, we might as well bring in, I'm very happy with how it's working so far. And I guess I'll just start to bring in the pieces for the head. So I'll just continue to do that. So let's leave us a note because we're going to forget very quickly. Then we have to finish this shadow. So let's leave ourselves just a little love note. Change the color. Extend shadow color. So we will definitely forget to do that. All right, and let's find this piece right here, and then we can bring this further into the rig. All right, I'm gonna find that piece. Gray hair lines. What am I grabbing here? Shadow. Let's do this one piece at a time. All right, this is it right here. So let's grab all this information, copy, activate, and we'll put this information right into the, let's see if we can put this in the overlay. Let's do this. So this is the main red band, I believe. Yep. So I want to take all the rest of this information. X. No, that's not what I wanted. Do this, and I also want to turn this tool off so I don't affect the actual artwork underneath. Let's see if this, yeah, it's going to work better, but do a little cleaner. So I'm going to cut. So there's my red band. I need my top knot. Go there, and here, and here. All right, and so we're gonna treat this a little bit differently, but we're gonna use our groups. Oh, so it smells like it's burning. That's never a great idea. Hang on. I'm going to finish this, I think, or this is going to get cut real quick. Okay, we're good. My nose was correct. And apparently, when Maybel was barking and everybody was kind of yelling, I could hear something happening over there. But I guess Maybel ate my sandwich. They made me a grilled cheese, and Maybel ate it off the table because she's a big girl, and no one was watching her. So that's the commotion, and that's what I can smell. But it's all good. All right, so let's finish this. And so with this one, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We don't necessarily need the whole. We don't need to have the whole thing, but it'll still be good. Just keep our network organized. So I'm going to grab the whole backdrop, and I'm going to bring it over and use it for each one of these layers here. So I'm going to use 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're not creating our seamless systems here. This is really just to contain all the extra artwork. So we can plug this in and plug this in. Plug this in and plug this in. And it's right now it's set up so that the line art and the color art are showing. So we're going to change it. I guess I could have changed one and then changed them over. Let's do this. So we don't need our color arts in this case. We need our overlay. So our overlays are actually going into the cutter, and our line art is going behind. I probably shouldn't be doing the back piece first. Probably should be doing the main. Oops, not that one. The main piece first. All right. So let's see. Let's do this one first. So we've got, unplug our color art. We want our overlay to be cut, and we want our line art to show through. Our line art could be our color art, but we'll leave it for now. We want these to be inverted. There we go. So overlay gets cut, and then we bring in our overlay, or our line art, and the overlay gets cut, and we cut that by our line art, and then we bring our line art back into and then our shadows we can hide. Now this should be working. Oh, that's why. Why is this not working? There we go. All right, so that looks good. That was good. That was really good. Let's see. We're gonna have to extend this drawing right here. And what I'm thinking for this is one of the options is actually just very easy copy with a duplicate. And then really we're just gonna, because again, the goal here is not to like, the goal here is to be quick. So that is a very easy way to recreate some artwork and extend the artwork without having to like mimic a designer's artwork. Like that's the hardest part. So that works. And now we've got a fully functioning animated piece. Let's see if we can do that with the top knot right now. We might as well. This is going to be a little bit trickier because we do have a couple different shapes here. This might not work, but let's see. Let's bring it all the way off. This will probably be the last thing that I do before calling it the night. Control save. And I'm going to go in with my cutter tool. I'm just going to cut away the pieces that I don't need. But I also kind of want it to look, I don't necessarily, not that I can get this perfectly. Let's just start with that. Just gonna try to match some things up, but maybe not. I don't want to add any more darkness, so I'm actually going to take a little bit more off. I'm going to copy another one in case I need it. Cut a little more off the top. Trying to avoid adding these darker patches. So it's kind of adding a little bit to the artwork, and I'm trying to preserve the original stuff. Alright. Copy. You. And if we had more space in the top knot row, let me see if I can push some stuff down. We've got a lot of stuff here. Control X, Control V, Control X, Control V, and now we'll put everything that's not the shadow. Ooh. Okay. So not quite what we're looking for, but it's getting better. Let me double check too. I want to make sure that that purple looks good with the shadow. Yeah, that's fine. Let's see if we can make a couple more edits to this without it looking like without it looking like a line, I guess. Move it up. Alright, and do one more copy view, and I'm going to try to hide the sharp edge there. I don't really want to be noticed. Alright, that looks better, and I'm going to flatten it. You can't flatten it. Okay, let's get rid of some of this extra artwork then. we can't flatten it, we'll do that. And we'll call it a day. And then there we go. Now we've got our shadow extended. So now if we, I guess I just deleted it, but now when that top knot moves, we don't have to worry about the shadow breaking, and the animation can be, so now we can do some secondary action literally on that little top knot. So, all right, I better call it quits right now because I'm about to start bigger things. So maybe next week we'll start the eye. We'll get into the eye, and we're moving a little bit slower than I anticipated, but I think it's going to be okay. We've got some more artwork to add here for the hair and stuff, so we'll have to find those layers individually and just keep on trucking. So yeah, it's nice having you with me tonight. I hope to see you next week. And again, if anybody has any more questions about the 2D demo reel and portfolio transformation summer camp, it's definitely a little bit of a mouthful. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and ask. Yeah, have a great night and see you next week. Bye.